Hi. So I wanted to share my testimony of how I was deceived by a light worker, and I just wanted to expose my experience of what happened, and I pray that it'll help anybody else that's either currently in that deception or has experienced it and dealing with trauma after that effect. So a little bit of my background, religion just pushed me away from God, and it was just all these like rules and condemnation, and I rebelled against it. And then in my early 20s, when I was like 22, my roommate at the time, she said, "Oh, you need to see this light worker. She helps you and she'll help your life get back on track." And she was like saying all these great things about her, and it sounded good to me. I was like, "Oh, a light worker, like that sounds great." So I went, and she was just saying, I see really dark things around you. I need to clear it off of you. And then she was doing like these tarot cards, and it was weird because like she would have me close my eyes, and then she would like put her hand over me and be like, "I'm clearing this off of you and I'm putting light into you like this." Then she would kind of teach me about how she got me, was she was like, "Yeah, there's Jesus, and there's also Ashtar, and this being and this being," and that's kind of how she got me. She recognized Jesus, but then she kept saying, "But then there's also this being that you need to work with," and just all this kind of deception. But since I was put off by religion, I was like, well, maybe this is Jesus. Maybe Jesus is like, okay, also work with these people, And so my intentions were good in that aspect, but she was just, then she kept going on, because I would like see her weekly for kind of a long time. And she went on saying how like I was my past life from a planet called Lyra, and people in the New Age, they know about like this whole starseed thing. So she was saying how I was from a planet called Lyra, and in my past life, and when I was on this planet, like we were all like lions. She was just talking all this kind of stuff. But I didn't know over time, each time I saw her, she was basically a light worker, aka a witch, and she was putting demons in me. So she was like releasing spirits into me. Okay. So during this whole process of time, I'm thinking that I'm being like this light worker, helping the planet, helping heal the planet and going in this dimension and that dimension and all this kind of nonsense. Looking back, all this stuff that I'm saying sounds completely crazy, but what my point on why I'm testifying about this is because it seemed so normal at the time because of the witchcraft that she put on me. So the more that I saw her, the more that I kept getting deceived because the more demons that she was putting in me. Then she told me that like aliens are good, UFOs are like here to protect us and help us. All these things sounded completely normal to me because of the level of witchcraft and demons that were deceiving me. So there were a couple of things that happened that I do want to share, so that anyone that is in New Age understand like the repercussions of what happens when you do open the door to these, demonic things. So this is what happened to me. So I'll just name a couple of things that happened after I saw this light worker. One of them was I went to this restaurant and I kept like hearing like, "You're going to get a Range Rover. You're going to get a Range Rover. You're going to get a Range Rover." And I was like, oh, cool. Because at the time I was so deceived and there was so much witchcraft put on me that I was thinking like that was God telling me, "I'm going to give you a Range Rover." So I was like, oh, thank you. I've been doing a lot of light work for you. I'm just saying that's what happened. So I was at this restaurant and I was hearing I'm going to get a Range Rover. I was like, oh, cool. I walk out of the restaurant and the valet person literally like opens the door. Okay, I Ubered there. Okay, so I didn't drive a car there. I walk out of the restaurant, and the valet person that was there in front of the restaurant opens the door in front of me to a Range Rover and like leads me in the car. And I was thinking like, oh, I just got a Range Rover. And I got in the car and I drove off. So basically I stole a car. It wasn't my car. And that's just one example of how the angel of light works. I mean, witchcraft's been done on you. Because where I'm planted at now, the church that I'm at, it's called 5F Church by Apostle Catherine Crick. And she exposes the angel of light, which is Satan. Satan masquerades as an angel of light. So he speaks all these things that sound so great and nice, and it's really the devil masquerading, pretending to be God or pretending to be good. So her teachings are so powerful, how she exposes how the devil masquerades as an angel of light. And that's what I was experiencing. It was like all these great sounding things. And then it was really like, at the end of the day, it was the devil wanting me to steal a car. Right? And so that's kind of just one instance of how the angel of light works, and how the witchcraft that was put on me from seeing this light worker who was really a witch doing witchcraft on me, putting demons of, like mental illness and stuff like that on me. That was one thing that happened. Then when I went to the light worker and she was telling me how I was a Lyran and from the planet Lyra, she was saying how there was an implant in my heart and we need to work on clearing that out. I remember after that, like there was so much of the witchcraft being done on me, so I literally thought it was real, and she was like, you need to keep coming because we need to clear this implant out of your heart. And all of these kinds of things that sound crazy looking back, but I am testifying about this to help anyone else out that either is in that now being deceived by the whole light worker new age thing, or is dealing with trauma after that happened. So then she told me all these things, and I remember I went to a grocery store, and all of a sudden I literally was out of my mind, and I don't know if it was like a psychosis episode, but I literally just saw myself in a cage, being locked in a cage. And I remember just kind of freaking out. Like I was in a grocery store, but then after that happened to me, I started hyperventilating. I remember just crying. I didn't know what was going on, but I was crying. And I ran out of the grocery store. And as I ran out, this is really weird to explain, okay? But I think just the level of witchcraft that was put on me, and how these demons operate through people, and how the witches operate, all of this sounds a little weird, saying it, but it did happen. So I do want to testify about this. So I walk outside of the grocery store, and to the right when I walk out, there's a lady just sitting there, and all of a sudden I don't know why, I would never do this normally, but I just walked up to her, and she was like, okay, we're gonna go together. And I was like, okay. So I'm not sure if it was the witchcraft that was put on me, that a spell or something, I don't know, but I was willing to go with this random lady. And she was giving me food, feeding me food, and I think she just put witchcraft on the food. Again, I don't know who this lady is. And I actually went missing for 3 days. My family couldn't find me. No one could find me. My phone went missing. During those 3 days, I remember flashbacks of certain things that happened, trying to piece it together. But a lot of it was a blur. I just basically went missing. I remember being in a car with her, and just all these really demonic things. Prior to this, because of seeing this light worker, how crazy the witchcraft made me, I was telling people, oh, I'm gonna be abducted by UFOs, and thinking it was a good thing. I was oh, I'm about to be you know, because they made it like UFOs seem so beautiful and like they're the good guys, which they're really just demons. So I remember like telling people before I went missing for 3 days, like, oh, I'm about to meet like with aliens and stuff. So that just, I'm saying all of this, I'm not sugarcoating it, because I want to expose how dangerous this whole light worker thing, and how they're just witches, and how it's just putting demons in you, and causes mental illness and a lot of crazy, unsafe things to happen. But like this whole time I thought she was good. That's how deceived I was. Like I thought she was a good person, like for me. And yeah, I remember like going to all these different places, because it like comes back to me in pieces of those 3 days when I went missing. I just remember like being in weird places, and like guys with like cables, like all this electricity wires, and I don't even know what that means, but I'm just trying to piece together, you know, what I do remember during those 3 days. And then the last thing that I remember from that point was I went to another place, another like restaurant with her, and then I remember I walked outside, and a guy was like, "What are you doing with that girl?" And I said, "Oh, like she's helping me," or something like that. And he was like, "No, like you can't hang out with her." And then she came out of the door, and I remember her voice was like completely different than I normally heard it. Her voice was like, yeah, 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 like a demon speaking out of her. And I got like all freaked out. And I was like, what in the world was that? Like, that's not how I heard her at all before. And then she just walked away. And I started throwing up really bad. And then the guy called an ambulance, and they came and got me and took me to a hospital. So many crazy things. That was just like 2 of the experiences that that happened after I was seeing this light worker for a long time and believing that I was helping the planet. And I do want to expose, she did use Jesus. She said, there's Jesus. Yeah, Jesus is great. And then there's also, you know, these people. So that's kind of how the devil gets you, is he mixes stuff so you think it's okay. And I just noticed after those periods of time, I wouldn't even be able to like wake up and get out of bed. Like it felt like my soul left me. Like it just felt like I had no life in me. And I would try to, at that time, that's before I was at a church that had the power of God, or knew about Christian churches that were operating in the power of God. So I would try to go to these churches, and they would basically just think I was crazy. And they wouldn't be able to help me. And they weren't equipped with how our enemy, the devil, has agents, witches and warlocks, and they put demons in people. And that's the reality. You know, there's 2 kingdoms. There's the devil's kingdom, and there's God's kingdom. You know? So just as God uses servants for the power of God, the devil uses servants, witches, and warlocks. I was trying to just reach out and get help, you know, from anybody. And you know, the Catholic Church, a lot of Christian churches, they weren't able to help me. And I felt like I had this high level witchcraft come at me. But no power of God to counteract it. At that time, I didn't know of like a Christian that was like equipped, you know, equipped against the devil and his kingdom. You know, the thing is too, this whole time I had good intentions. I thought I was being good. I thought I was helping the world, being a light worker. But looking back, it's from the equipping that I got from my spiritual mother, Apostle Catherine. She exposes how witches and warlocks work in all of this in her book, Unlock Your Deliverance. But yeah, I mean, that's how deceptive the devil is. How he, he's like a snake, and then he tries to put a snake in a present with a pretty bow on it, tries to look real nice on the outside, but on the inside it's like a snake. That's why the Bible says, don't be deceived. Even the devil himself masquerades as an angel of light. Of light. And I have compassion on people who are currently light workers or previous light workers, because I feel like deep down they're looking for the power of God. They're looking for the real Jesus. That's what they're looking for, whether they know it or not. And I feel like religion just kind of turns people away. They think Jesus is this stiff religious, thou shalt not. And he's not like that at all. So that religion is what's pushing people away. So they try to look for the power of God in other ways, because the church by and large isn't operating by the power of God, casting out demons, healing the sick, raising the dead, like Jesus said we should. So they're looking for the power of God through light worker. And that's really demonic powers. That isn't even as strong as God's power. But that's how sneaky and deceptive the devil is. And that's why it's so crucial. The power of God needs to be in churches. So I was always seeking, even though I didn't really understand it, I was always seeking the power of God. The true Jesus. The true Jesus. The true powerful Jesus that makes demons tremble. That's who I was searching for. The true Jesus that raises the dead. That heals the sick. That's what I was searching for. And I didn't find that in the church before. I didn't see that in the Catholic Church. I didn't see that by and large in Christian churches. So I was thinking, well, where is that real Jesus? There's going to be a huge harvest in the New Age community and in like the light worker community that will be saved, born again Christians, once they encounter the power of God. And it's happening at 5F Church. It's happening with Apostle Catherine Crick. That's the vessel that God chose, because he works through vessels. That's the vessel that he chose and entrusted to flow through. And every time I go to 5F Church, I get to see the power of God. I get to see the devil be shamed, demons cast out. I get to see people healed of things they've been battling for so long. I get to see the power of God, the joy, the love, the real Jesus. The power that's far greater than any angel of light power, that supersedes it all. Jesus is real power. And it's at 5F Church. And I get the equipping that I need to combat the angel of light. And I'm just so blessed that I found the truth. And that I get to see the real Jesus in action, in power. Because the kingdom of God is not a matter of talk, but of power. So I hope that if you're a light worker currently, your eyes are opened up to the deception of the devil, and that you encounter the real Jesus, meet him, and experience and get to witness the power of God at 5F Church. Come and see, because Jesus is moving in power like never before. Amen.